Oh, yeah, there you go. Keep going. Yeah. That's the shortest time that somebody I've been teaching has been able to done their template. Very good. Yay.
I was actually just looking on your website and then I saw that you homeschooled your kids.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, that was an adventure. While I was pregnant with my son, he was our first, I determined that I would homeschool.
Wow.
And I also had them both born at home. So we did everything at home.
Yeah.
And I had gone to a lot of classes like homeschooling conferences. And that was back when homeschooling was not so popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't easy. And we didn't have the internet. And I waited for information to show up. At first, and this might be helpful for someone, I don't know now.
Well, it'd be helpful for me. I'm dabbling in it and I want to homeschool my kids. I guess I'm just scared to make that commitment.
So yes, it is scary, but I overcame and just was brave. And at first I tried to teach the way that the public school system, because I went to public school system, I tried to do it that way and it just was not working because we just can't perform that way. And so I was listening to Oliver DeMille. He started the Thomas Jefferson education. He said he didn't read until he was 8. And he also suggested just focusing on the basic curriculum, like reading, writing, and math. And then also I found the Robinson curriculum. And Dr. Robinson's wife had assembled a lot of the materials, like they found books that were created like in the 1800s. So they had correct grammar inside of them, and ethics and how to interact with other people in a respectful and honorable manner. And so because they're out of copyright, he was able to scan them, and that's part of their curriculum. Like they own the copies and all of that. So they sell that, and then using the 1841 dictionary, the Webster's dictionary, things like that. So you get the original definitions of words because we don't use them the way that they were intended in the first place. Now there's been so many changes in our society. So that's where we start having communication issues, or we can end up with the language being torn apart and not used well so that we're communicating well and that we understand what we're saying to one another. Phonics, that was one missing part. Phonics is like a major foundation of everything. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of phonics before they shut that down in the school. So I got it until I was in 3rd grade. I was at a co-op and one of the ladies was sitting there using a program, and it was very obvious to me. And I saw what she was doing and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? And how do I get it? Mm-hmm. And she said it was the Spell to Write and Read program by Wanda Sansari.
Okay.
And it is full bore everything for phonics and spelling to read to write. Yeah. I absolutely love that program. It is very complete, very comprehensive. It takes a couple of years to go through if you work at it 4 or 5 days a week. We didn't stop for summer break. This is life. Learning is life. Mm-hmm. And we would take vacation when our dad took vacation and when there was holidays. Mm-hmm. So learning was a daily thing for us, and we did not let up. So it took a couple of years to get through the Spell to Write and Read program. And I think our son was, let me see, he was around 12 when we did that. Mm-hmm. And my daughter she's 4 years younger. So she was around 8, 9. And it worked really, really well. So anyway, there we go in a nutshell.
That's cool. Yeah. My oldest is 7. So he's just finishing up grade 1 this year. My middle guy is JK. and then my youngest is 2. So they went, I mean, they've gone to school for the past couple years, but because of like teacher strikes and COVID, they've never had a full year. So I kind of just started getting the hints that maybe that system's just not for us anymore and we'll homeschool. So this past year, I had them enrolled in a forest school once a week, and they came to life. It was so cool. And then in the winter, we wanted to do more of the forest school, but it was far from our house. So we actually got together with 8 other families, and we did our own forest school day just down the road from our house. There's like this nature area. There's like a forest and trail and water and grass and fallen trees. The kids loved the fallen trees. They would play in there. It was their pirate ships. It was their forts. So we just played in there. And I mean, my kids are younger, so I didn't have to worry about curriculum. Like I said, I did the phonics program with my son, and he can read beautifully. He reads chapter books, which is so cool. He's only 7, but most Scandinavian countries don't even start reading until 7. So I wasn't even concerned. So with my JK guy, I no pressure to, we'll just let them play outside. And when he wants to count, he counts. And we're doing a big move. So we're going to be moving to a new location. So we'll find some other homeschooling groups and focus more on the social skills. And then I guess I'll pick my curriculum or something. But
Cool. And then I just read a ton to them.
right.
And one fun activity that's coming to my mind, and maybe this would be something you can play with your children. My son would tell me a story. We made a book, like we took paper and we punched holes down, folded all the pages, punched holes down the middle, and then stitched them together. So it made a book. And then he would tell me the story. I would write it down at the bottom of all the pages. Then he would go through and he would make all the illustrations. And that was really, really fun.
That's really cool. I'll have to try that.
Yeah. And his first book, he actually requested for me to read The Lord of the Rings to him when he was 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, our books are falling apart, and our Narnia books fell apart.
Right.
I restitched them back together, things like that. So, of course, it went from there to the Candy Shop Wars. What's his Brandon Mole's books?
Okay.
Oh, it's so delightful.
Write that down.
And yeah, all of Brandon Mole's books are just delightful. He lives here in the Provo, Utah area, and then. Aragon and everything from Christopher Paolini. They were excited, my children were excited about Christopher Paolini and reading his books because he wrote Aragon when he was 16.
Wow.
And he was home taught. And so it drew them in even more to read his books. And of course, Christopher's in his late 30s now, but reading a lot was the thing. Yeah. With the other, and we only spent like 2.5 to 3 hours tops on reading, writing, and math, and the rest was reading to them and playing. So I would put books out on the floor that I felt intuitively to put out for them to look at, and they would pick them up. And then I told them I wasn't their entertainer. If they were bored, they needed to go find their own creativity.
That's cool. Yeah, we started on some of those books. We've done the Roald Dahl books. We've done The Hobbit. We haven't done Lord of the Rings yet. We've done Narnia. We started that collection. But yeah, they love the books. And I started actually, it was our local library at Christmas time. They did a library book advent. So they wrapped 24 books. And then every morning we would unwrap a book at breakfast and I would read them a story.
Oh.
And they really loved it. I really loved it. They ate so well because they were just into the story and they would eat and then we would talk about it. So that's what we do. We go once a week to the library. We get 7 picture books and then they each take a turn picking a book for breakfast. And then we get stories in, and some are great and some are not so great, but
Yep.
You learn your favorites, and it's really cool. You can really learn a bunch of different topics.
Well, and it teaches discernment. Because then you can ask them questions like, how did that make you feel? How did this situation make you feel? What would you do if you were in this situation? That kind of stuff. And did you like that book or not? Did you prefer it? Or would you read it again? Or, would you buy this if it was in the store? And so you could read it many, many times, or, those kinds of things. so that they can learn to govern themselves and
Mhm.
make their own choices when you're not with them, because
Mhm.
you're not going to be with them
Mhm.
most of their life.
Mhm.
You only have an influence having a stewardship role until they're
Mhm.
18. After that, we don't get
Yeah.
to interject.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So did you start with energy work before kids, or did that come with kids or after, or how did that all kind of tie together?
Well, I was playing with energies when I was a child. When I think about it, I was quite disappointed when this experience went away. At night, I would play with the tunnel of light around my bed. And it was purple and pink, like what we would term like fairy
Yeah.
sparkles or dust or whatever, but I could actually see a field of energy around my bed. And I would rotate it one way and then I'd stop it and rotate it the other way. And I would play with it. But by the time I was about 7, it stopped showing up.
Wow.
By then we are highly affected and conditioned by our environment. So I didn't prefer the environment I was in. I'm just going to say that. I like fairy stuff and, all the crystals and everything. I was always drawn to that stuff when I was little. But early on, like after I had my son, I started recognizing, and this was way, way before I connected with the human design system. So I didn't know he was a reflector, but he was reflecting my emotions back to me. So he was like, he would escalate. And I was like, what on earth? And so I came across Louise Hay's her little blue book that she initially did. And so I started using her suggestions and listening to Wayne Dyer, like Wayne Dyer was doing PBS presentations, and my husband and I, we started listening to him and changing the way that we were doing and thinking in our life. And our son calmed down a great deal because we were calming down.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes. And then after I had him, I just crashed like my whole system. I was in major, major burnout. And I didn't know that that's what it was called. I was just tired all the time. So I started trying to determine how to help myself. We did not have a lot of money, so doctors were not an option. We didn't have insurance coverage or anything like that. So I started going to the health food store, learning about homeopathy. So that's energetic frequencies. And then learning more. There was a gal that my mom knew that she let me borrow a crystal book that she had. And so I was learning about that and cleansing crystals and using those for healing intention. And then I took an iridology course that was heavy duty. Like I sold my piano. I sold my upright piano and my refrigerator to take that class. And I still use those principles today. I use the I Ching principles, the traditional Chinese medicine principles that I learned from that course. And I still use it today, and I use it with human design as well. So they all dovetail together. But iridology is looking at the iris and noticing where there's changes or where over time, or where there's like little dark spots, or where there's a lot of white, or like my eyes. People always say, well, you have beautiful eyes. And I say, thank you, I appreciate that. But after taking the iridology class, I know that I have an inherent weakness with there's a dark rim around my irises, which indicates I need to activate my skin. So skin brushing, sweating, those kinds of things are good to activate the skin. So you can look at those kinds of things and go, oh, it's probably good for me to support my skin and get my kidneys cleaned out, or you can see those areas in there. I've never watched this, but our teacher shared with us, you can watch a bone heal because you'll see where the healing is taking place in the iris.
Wow.
Yeah, so Bernard Jensen, that's a good place to start. Somebody is interested in that. But of course, that's all energy and frequency, and you can actually see it happening in the iris. So there you go.
That's really cool. I think it's so cool when you can see, like if you just take the eye as an example, it's a representation of your whole being.
Yes,
Like
yes,
that's fascinating. And I mean, then you can take that whole like your body as a representation of your being.
Yes, and not only that, the gentleman I learned from, he's passed away now, Paul Latham, he made a chart that has the spiritual aspects on there, what the inherent weaknesses at that time, if a person has issues with certain tissues, glands, or organs, then they can know where to send energy and where to nurture themselves. I, of course, don't use it for diagnosing, prescribing,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. I'm not a medical or mental health care practitioner, so I don't do that, but I come from the spiritual, energetic angle of the whole thing. Let me give an example. This is how I use quantum touch with human design. So, for example, I have gate 12 as my conscious sun sign gate in my human design chart. And so knowing that, then the thyroid and the parathyroid is the glandular organ or the tissue that is potentially at issue for that gate. And so I can send light to my thyroid and parathyroid, knowing that I might have a weakness there, or if I get out of balance in my expressions, I can send energy to my thyroid. So that's a way that I use quantum touch with my human design, all the issues associated with the throat chakra, and can send blue light there and support yourself. I like, you can see I have turquoise, which supports the throat chakra. There we go. Yeah, those are ways that you can use energy and ways that I use quantum touch, and it can go out into these other modalities and support each other.
So then you were able to, I guess you learned, because you've learned a lot of modalities. I kind of looked up your background. You have a Bachelor of Medical Physical Science, level 3 quantum alignment practitioner, level 4 human design specialist, quantum touch practitioner, and instructor. So you have a lot of these modalities. So how did that contribute to your health?
All of them in combination.
Okay.
Like I found each of them as I went along. So from like the iridology, I went to doing sweat lodges for about a year or more. That was an experience. And from there, I met people. Like I had the opportunity to go to a class where I learned the spoon bending. And so,
oh, yes, I want to talk to you about that. I don't have a spoon that I want to bend, but I found a fork. So we will do that.
Oh, I don't know. Some people can bend their spoon and some people can't. Let me grab some examples so we can make it real, right?
You want to do it right now?
Yeah, I can
okay.
I can grab my bag. I've taught. Okay, so I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Do you want me to show you the bag?
I don't know what's in the bag, so I don't know how to answer the question.
This is how many spoons I have bent.
That's awesome.
Yes. It's a fun little thing to do. It is not a parlor trick. Some people think, oh, that's a parlor trick. You are fibbing me. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. So these are spoons I have actually bent myself. In class, I just encourage students to focus on doing this. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Here's some fancy ones. This was one of the harder spoons. It was very, very hard stainless steel. Mm-hmm. So
like a little twist in there.
Yeah. This one turned out really cool. Mm-hmm. So I offered spoon bending as a bonus class at the end of my quantum touch level 1 workshop. I only teach the quantum touch level 1.
Cool. So you do the workshop and then you use the quantum touch techniques. Yep. And you run energy into your fort. Like it's.
Yes.
You see I can't really feel the muscles, like I'm trying to force it here.
So you want to pick a utensil that you can't manhandle to bend. Like literally, if you ran it over with the car, you wouldn't bend it.
Right.
Like I have some mixing spoons. Like this is a serving spoon. Mm-hmm. So heavier spoons, or like Oneida, really a high quality, spoon. You pick it up and you're like, oh, this isn't one you find at the buffet. Mm-hmm. You can just pick up and bend in half. No, that's not what we're talking about. This is one that me as a woman cannot bend or manhandle. I might get it to bend like a little teeny weeny bit, but mm-hmm. not like that. Mm-hmm. So when you're using the quantum touch techniques, you can bend the spoon because it will soften. As we learn in the quantum touch, we're mostly space. We're not solid matter. We're just solid for convenience, so we don't fall through the floor or whatever in 3D land. But as we know, we're mostly space. It's wide open. And so when we tap into that and sending energy to a utensil, in this example, a spoon, then it starts making that malleable. And like when we do the posture leveling in our quantum touch level 1 workshop, it's the same thing. We literally can watch the movement take place. I don't want to say the word adjustment. That's chiropractor language, and since we're not doctors. So the leveling can take place, and we can watch that happen, especially when we work with the occipital ridge. So that's very, very lovely. I just want to share how I learned this technique. It's kind of fun. There were about, I would say, at least 170 people in the room that I was in. And this gal working on a government project, and she'd been in the Gateway project with Bob Monroe and those kinds of things. So they were studying metaphysical things. And part of that was the spoon bending. Her name is Maureen Cottle. If anybody wants to look up her book, she taught us, she said, everybody bring a utensil. And that was part of the instructions, how to pick out a good spoon to bend. And she showed us all how to bend our spoons right there and together. There was a tiny portion of the people in the room that didn't bend their spoons. That's going to happen. If you go too much up in your mind, like we learned in quantum touch, it probably won't work for you. You need to be in a space of allowing and doing your quantum touch techniques, which was all part of, like, she got us into a meditative mode. She had white noise on, which can be helpful because it can help with the brainwave. But if you're doing the quantum touch techniques, you're already in that brainwave. And as far as I can tell, it's not part of the class, but obviously we get there because the spoons bend, and it's quite amazing. And it doesn't just flop over. Okay. It's not like the Matrix.
Yeah.
So put that out of your mind. There is no spoon part, is meaning the particles become fluid. And Maureen said that what they did was, after people, they would have spoon bending parties, dinner parties. And after people would bend their spoons, they would take them into the lab and do tests on them. And it's actually crystallized metal after that. So this is not, you can see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on the camera. So you can see it's shiny here, right? But at the point of bending, it is a matte finish. It's more mottled. It's not shiny anymore, right?
Wow.
You can see the difference there. I want to show the physicality of it because our logical left mind wants to know. So it crystallizes the metal. There's been a couple of students crack their spoon, and you can actually hear it crack, like crystal broke.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love when you can physically see the effects of the energy.
Yes.
Right. It does help. It does help with the brain to be like, okay, no, this is real.
Yes. And that's why I'm showing this, not from ego. Definitely not. I'm showing this because everyone has the ability to move and change matter. That's why I'm showing this.
Yeah.
And once you understand how to do that, mystery solved, you can do it over and over and over, obviously.
Yeah.
So I didn't ever imagine I was going to, have that many bent spoons in my life, but there you go.
There you go. That's so cool. You could put them into a nice vase or something, make them a centerpiece. It'd be a good conversation starter.
There we go.
Cool. So let's run the energy into them.
I can see from what you have there that you have a spoon, a utensil that's not easily bent, and that's very obvious. Now with a fork, it's pokey. So when you bend it, you want to put it on the flat. Yes, so you don't hurt yourself, okay? Yeah. You will have to apply a little bit of pressure when you go to bend it. It's not going to just flop over by itself. The first time I bent my spoon, it took 20 minutes or so. And now it's lessened. And the time of those I'm teaching how to do this has lessened over time as well. But some people, struggle with it. And that's okay. Like, really, it's okay. So you hold your spoon this way, do your breathing and sweeping. you just let the energy meet there while you're running energy. And
I can already feel it. My hands are getting warm, and like where I'm touching it is getting really warm.
Okay, and you can just rest your hands down in your lap so you're totally relaxed, and you keep doing your breathing and sweeping.
It feels very light.
Good. Okay, watch. Look, 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 look. Ha ha ha. There you go. Yeah, and keep going. Once you stop bending it, then it will crystallize and stay there. Yeah, there you go. Keep going. Yeah. That's the shortest time that somebody I've been teaching has been able to bend their utensil. Very good. Yay. Yeah, there you go.
I understand why you use a spoon and not a fork. It did just stab me, but
some of
cool.
some of my students have twisted the tines. I might have a picture of Chaz on my website where he twisted some of the tines, but he's a dude with rough hands, and he does construction work, so he has tough phalanges.
That's so cool. So we totally cut through the whole teaching part of the spoon. So if you want to learn how to learn the techniques, definitely check out one of Shelly's classes, because pretty cool. That did just happen real time right here. Mind you, I know we cut out part of that, but cool.
Well, and you can look back in the video, see exactly how long it took us. I think it took about 4.5, 5 minutes. So that was record time, actually, especially on your part there, Thea.
That was so fun. I love physical. And then I just every time I finish with a client too, it's just like that, whoa, what is possible? What just happened? What are we capable of?
Yep. And just leaving it out there so you can keep showing your logical mind, your left brain, that, oh, I am changing matter at the molecular quantum level, when I'm bending a spoon. And the reason I even have this other information is because of what Maureen shared with us in that class, which I was really grateful just to have the scientific explanation of spoon bending and what is happening.
That'll go on my shelf for sure.
Yeah. And it's not from ego. Like I said, this is not about ego. This is about showing our left brain that this truly can happen and is possible for us in our lives. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So let's cut back to the kids, because that's what I really want to know. Because I came to learn about energy work when I had my kids. I went to university, I got a job in the medical profession, no awareness to energy. And then I got pregnant and I was like, whoa, what I learned in school does not explain what I'm experiencing right now. And then I had to go out and kind of source out meaning, I guess, to what I was experiencing. And then that's how I came across quantum touch. And then now my mindset is, or what I think about is, how can I use what I've learned to support my children so that they grow up feeling supported? Like, I don't want them to have like a blackout of like 20 years where they're trying to just fit into a world that doesn't support them. Maybe you can speak to that, because you raised your kids with this awareness.
I noticed that my children were automatically doing some of these things. And I have the belief that all of us come into this world with these gifts and they get shut down. So, by parents' perceptions. And the reason that I have that belief is because my grandmother, my dad's mother shared with my mom one day. I don't know why she shared it with her, but she was seeing auras when she was a child and working with energies and saying something to her family. And they got scared. The adults got scared and told her to cut that out, to stop it, you know. And so she got scared and it quit. And she shared that with my mom, that she wished she had not listened to those adults.
Mm.
And so when I had my children, I paid very close attention to their wisdom. And in the human design system, a reflector is nothing but wisdom. And so my son, I cherish him very much for that. And then my daughter, she would just come out with these comments like she was obviously seeing an overlay of another realm. It was normal to her. She didn't know that everybody wasn't seeing that. I realized that at one point I'm trying to be careful of what I'm sharing because they're both very private people. I realized, my son and I realized one day that she was trying to telepathically communicate with us. Like she was wanting me to get her sippy cup. And I didn't exactly at first know what she wanted. I told her, I said, honey, you need to tell me with words. And she looks at me and her brother and she goes, why? She was so confused. Just like, why do I need to do that? So she made the request, like, these frustrating people, why aren't they getting this? Well, later when she was a teenager, she remembered coming into the world, like being born. So she remembered that situation, wanting her sippy cup. And she said, Mom, I was telling you what I wanted. And I said, honey, I couldn't hear you. Like I kind of had an intuitive hit of what she was wanting, but I wanted to be sure. I didn't want to just start grabbing things, go, oh, is it this? Is it this? That's not healthy. She told me she was telling me she wanted her sippy cup and she was picturing it and saying those words and sending that message to me. But of course, without her saying something, I was not receiving the message. When she was tiny, she would talk to me with her facial muscles. So as mothers, it's good for us to pay attention to what our sons and daughters are saying to us when they're speaking to us, even though they're under 2 and they're not speaking yet verbally. They are talking to us. And so when we watch them and we listen and ask for spirit guidance and feel the energy, like, okay, what are they saying to me? And then we can start tuning into what they're saying. They're like full adult spirits in these tiny bodies. So I never talked to my children in baby talk. I never talked to them like they were unknowing, unaware, or anything, or like they're containers that are here for me to fill up. They are full blown, full cognizant souls in this little tiny body. They need to learn how to use the body, how to move their fingers, how to look purposefully look across the room, start moving their body, purposely rolling over. And how did I do that? I just did that accidentally. Let me pay attention next time. After they do it 20 or 30 times, they're like, oh, that's how I do it. Just paying attention to those things, because if they were able to just get up and start walking, they'd hurt themselves. So taking that time for them to get to know their body, that doesn't mean they don't know what's going on.
Oh, I've had many experiences where I know they are smart and they know what's going on. Or, it's interesting being a parent of young children, because it's like you're teaching them how to live a day-to-day life, but then we're just so used to doing it. Like that's just what we do. And trying to teach it to the child, I'm trying to come up with a good example, because sometimes I'm wondering, like, what we do is weird. It probably just seems foreign to them. Like, why would we do it that way? But I can't think of a good example. But I do have the belief that they're smarter than us. Try and see where they're coming from. What they want.
The thing is, we're always demonstrating. We're teaching them with every blink of our eye, every time we clear our throat, and at what time we clear our throat. When we look across the room, we lift our eyebrow, we open the package of food that we're opening right then. The way we're doing it, are we using the scissors? Are we pulling from the side? Do we rip it off? we're teaching them everything. The way we hold our pen. Do they see us journaling? Do they see us coloring and drawing? Like, what are we showing them? What are the important things to us? Those are the things that we're teaching them. So we want to make sure that we're mentoring them, because we genuinely are stewarding and mentoring our children. Everything we do, we're showing them how we do things. And so when we listen to them and we say, what is your way? What is the most comfortable way for you to hold your pen? Just because mommy holds it this way doesn't mean you need to. Maybe it feels more comfortable writing with your left hand. Try it with both. And you notice which way you like to do it. You know, when you're talking to a toddler, you talk in the third person because that's what they understand. Then have them notice which way it felt good to them, so that they can start mentoring and teaching themselves and noticing what feels good. You know, do you like this crystal? Like, take them to the crystal store and say, okay, you have $10 each that you can spend on a crystal. Let's go around. You pick up and hold the crystals and decide which one wants to come home with you, or which one makes your heart sing or feels, or maybe notice if there's a buzz or if you can hear it. Or looking at a human design chart, then you would know how to help them choose their crystal, whether it's through a gut response or through emotional clarity, or through, you know, if they can, does that sound right to you, or does that feel good to you, or does that feel correct? Then you can help guide them in knowing which way to notice the energy. So like for my son, I talked to him, does that sound, you know, how does that sound to you? For my daughter, I would ask her a yes or no question and then follow that up with, does that feel correct to you? For me, it would be, I'm noticing how it feels to my body. Like, how does that feel to me?
Yeah, that's good ways of communicating. Like what you said about the crystals, I think this is why kids are obsessed with stones. Like, I wash their shorts all the time, and there's like stones stuck in the pockets, in my pockets, and like their coat. Like, they're just always drawn to picking up and holding on to stones, and they bring them in the house, and I've stopped fighting it because it's not worth it. They're everywhere. So whenever I find stones, I'll just throw them in the house plants, or I just throw them out the window. But I think, they just intuitively love feeling the stones and being outside and kicking off their shoes. And that's why we've really kind of explored like a forest school way, because they just do their thing and play how they want to play. And it's really cool to see what they come up with. And if I can, sometimes I want to be very controlling, so it's hard, but I'm learning to like let go of the reins. But if I just let them do what they want to do, a lot of times they have better ideas than I do. And they do it so much better than I would have guided them to do. So it's kind of like a very obvious way of seeing that maybe the way I'm doing it isn't the best way to do it.
Or the absolute correct way. That's why I say, okay, quantum touch is a way of running energy and sending healing energy to yourself, or sending energy with healing intent. Human design is a way you can connect with the beauty that is in you and the divine in you, and a way that guides us to making clear choices in our life for ourselves. And just because I enjoy it and it works for me doesn't mean it works for everyone. So someone else may find a different path or different way that works better for them. Doesn't mean it's the way to do it. So
the other thing that's changed for me since having kids is how we eat. It used to be like 3 meals a day. This is how you eat. This is how you eat for each meal. I don't know. I had this very structured framework around how I would eat. But now I just watch them, and sometimes they eat, sometimes they don't. I leave the food on the plate. They'll come back to it when they're hungry. We don't always make them finish a meal. Like, we'll make them have a couple bites, and then if they want to go play, it's like, your plate will be right here whenever you're ready to eat. And I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, we have to go and we're not going to be able to eat. So it's really important that you eat now so that you're not hungry later. And
Mhm.
they learned that. But for the most part, we're always able to pull out the snack, or if they didn't finish their meal, they can come back to it. And I
Yes.
find that's really interesting because they're so much better about listening to their body in terms of what they need to eat than I am. So that's really cool to learn from them. And I catch myself all the time. Like, I just want to be like, finish your food. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
they don't need it. If
Yeah.
they don't need to finish their food, why would I force them?
Correct.
So then I like, okay, take a step
Yeah.
back. If you're done, you can leave the table and your food will be here if you're still hungry later.
Yes, because that helps them learn to trust their body and
Mhm.
the choices that they're making so that when they're out at their friend's house or they're at school or as they mature into adults themselves, that they can make wise choices by listening to what feels correct, like what does their body need right now, and connecting with the physical form because that's what it's all about being here in 3D land. We're learning how to connect with physical form and our soul is learning by being in physical form. So the more we can do that, then the better off. And when we notice the sensations, like we learn in quantum touch, we're noticing the sensation of our finger, moving the awareness, becoming aware of moving that energy from the shoulder to the heel, to the knee, to the head or the eye or whatever, and noticing those sensations. Is it warm? Is it buzzing? Is it whatever? Then if we can teach our children that, they can tune into what exactly does my body really want right now? What does it require? And what is it going to be able to digest? Of course, when they're a child, they're not going through all that thought process, but bringing more conscious awareness to it as they mature and grow will only benefit them. Listening to our bodies, because it may be going through a cycle, and letting our children listen to that cycle because they might be going through little mini cycles. My focus is to pay attention to what my body is telling me and speaking to me. So,
Yeah. See, now learning the energy, like learning quantum touch and learning energetics, I understand why you pray before a meal. I grew up very Christian, so we prayed every time before a meal. But I'm like, I get it now. And now I don't pray because that's the routine. I have to do it. Like, what would my parents think if I didn't pray before I ate? But I actually like energize my food. And I'm so grateful that I get to eat this. And you bring that energy to the meal and it serves you.
well, and there's an element in the quantum touch information that focuses on gratitude. And Jennifer and I, when she did the interviews with the instructors, and we started talking about gratitude, and I am, this is kind of funny, I'm grateful we talked about gratitude. I went back and watched a portion of it, and I have done a couple of times because it helps me remind myself what my number one focus is for myself in my lifetime is gratitude. An element of the quantum touch is gratitude. And I would say it's the major foundation of it, along with that. And love comes from gratitude. And I don't know, it was probably back in like 2006 or something like that. I started saying gratitude prayers for everything instead of, please bless me this, please bless me that, and stuff like that. I just started saying thank you for this food. Thank you for, whatever. It could be your feet or the light bulbs or whatever. But in the case of food, you can literally say thank you for this food and all the light and love that's in it. And then I love to see it all just filled with golden white light or crystal diamond light or fairy light, however somebody wants to vision that. And then imagine that that's what I'm eating. I'm eating light and being very grateful for it and grateful for my body. So I notice my body and every particle of my body is filled with that same light. So then we become one. And
It's
yeah,
cool because I notice a difference. If I'm in a hurry and I just scarf down what I'm eating, I normally have a bellyache or I feel bloated or something afterwards. But if I sit down and I consciously start sending energy and gratitude to my food, and it doesn't have to be long, 20 seconds kind of thing. I'm so grateful for it, right? Then I feel better afterwards. I don't feel that bloaty, sluggish feeling.
Yeah, it works.
And then it reminds me, my my Oma, and I think I would butcher it now, but one of her favorite Bible verses is, "In all things give thanks," which is the gratitude.
Yep. I would say the gratitude, and again, I talked with Jennifer about this, was my major healing experience of me getting better, because I was not doing well after I had my son and daughter. I was crashing and just absolutely not functioning well. It hurt for somebody to give me a hug. I was on the edge of tears quite a lot, and I was guided through spirit guidance to have gratitude in all things, both the pleasant and the unpleasant. So if I stubbed my toe, I said thank you. And then I would thank my toe for being there, and, thank you to my toe, or whatever it was, thank you. Or if somebody cut me off on the highway, thank you for cutting me off. And maybe I would put a gur on the end or something, but I would still say, thank you for cutting me off.
Mm-hmm.
And at least verbalize the gratitude and say thank you, even though maybe I'm not feeling it. It still shifts the energy and moves the frustration or the anger or whatever it is emotion that came up in the experience. It acknowledges it. You're saying, oh, I see that something happened, and thank you for everything I'm learning from that. So yeah.
I'm going to use that this morning. So we're moving to a new place. It's a country property, so we need a big lawnmower. And she told us she was going to sell her lawnmower to somebody, but she wasn't sure it might fall through. If it does, she would just leave it to us. So we were like, okay, let's hope it falls through. We want that lawnmower. We need that lawnmower. It makes it so much easier. And then she just told me this morning she sold the lawnmower. So I'm like, now we have to buy a new lawnmower. So it's going to cost us money, and it's going to cost us time. And we have to somehow get this riding lawnmower to our new property. And we don't even live in the area. So like the logistics of it, I'm just like, And then I was like, no, I don't want to hold that frequency. So I told myself, this is a blessing in disguise. I don't know why, and I don't know how we weren't just given that lawnmower, but it's a blessing in disguise. So I like that you said thank you. So I'll say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I can share a story that's similar to that. So we have driven Subarus, and he got very talented at pulling out an engine and putting a new one in one day. And he would do our maintenance on all of our vehicles. However, my poor little Subaru last year, my little Outback, which I so loved, started acting very strange, and we could not find where the problem was. And it was the first one that we've not been able to find where the problem was. And so I just kept saying, okay, thank you. Even though I don't understand what is going on, the motor hummed like you couldn't even hear it when it was on, even though it was a 20-year-old car. And so it was just frustrating. Mm-hmm. And so we just let ourselves be in a space of gratitude and thank you for this experience, even though we don't know what's happening and why our car is just acting so weird. It would only run for 10 minutes, and then it would just go, oh. And then you'd have to pull over. The motor would keep running, humming, purring, but you couldn't go forward. And no forums, no other mechanics. Nobody knew what was going on with it. So we sold it for parts. But just after that is when the market crashed because of this COVID thing. And all of the used cars have skyrocketed in price. And we purchased the car that I have now right after we purchased that vehicle. It would have cost us way, way much more to purchase a used vehicle if we had not gotten a vehicle right then. So then we knew. And the whole time we were like, okay, we're grateful for this experience, even though we don't know what's going on. And then after that happened, we're like, oh my goodness, now we're even more extra grateful that the car broke when it did.
It all happens for a reason. It's whether we want to hold that space to just, I guess, observe it, right? Not to get caught up in the drama of it, but just to observe it. And I think that's what I love about this work, because it encourages me to observe.
And like, I didn't understand why I was so, I do now. I was trying to do things that didn't work for my body, my physical body. And I know that from my human design body graph now. But at the time, I didn't know that. And look at all the things that I learned while I was in the process of feeling better, getting my body back to health. And now I have greater endurance. I understand how my body functions, getting plenty of rest and in the way that my body wants it to be done, and eating the way that my body wants to eat, and nurturing myself.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It all happens for a reason. I think that too. What really got me into learning about the energy was when I was having kids didn't come easy for us. So you start to question everything, right? And then I started having miscarriages, and then you just question everything more. And then that is what led me down the path to where I am now, which I feel like if everything just would have worked out beautifully for me, I wouldn't have gotten here because I wouldn't have had to.
Did you send energy to yourself? Like, how did you end up?
Eventually, like I feel like, so with my first son, we were trying and trying and trying, and nothing happened. And we had a miscarriage early on, but I was like, women have miscarriages all the time. I'm not going to get worked up about this. You know, it's just no big deal, right?
Mhm.
And then it's like every month we didn't get pregnant, it became a bigger and bigger deal. And then it
Yeah.
became bigger. And then finally it was like, no, like I can't handle this. If we're not meant to have kids, we're not meant to have kids. But like I can't try to have kids because I'm not enjoying my life. So I just stopped thinking about it, everything. I went on a girls' weekend trip with some friends. My husband went and did some stuff with his friends, and we got pregnant that cycle. Right?
So when you relaxed and let yourself be in
Exactly.
a playful
The
state.
moment we just gave up the trying part, we got pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, and then because so at that time I worked as an ultrasound tech at a fertility clinic, and I would scan high risk patients all the time, and you'd hear all the stories. And in my mind, something was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a low risk pregnancy, a quick delivery, and a sleeping baby. And that was just my line. And everyone laughed at me, and I laughed along because I was just like, I don't know. It just, that was, I guess, how I dealt with the stress of like coming into the trauma of like delivery or whatever. Right. And then I ended up connecting with a doula. So I had a doula, and we had a quick labor. Like, we almost didn't make it to the hospital. Like, I was crowning in the car, and he was delivered 7 minutes after we got to the hospital. And then my mother-in-law had given me this book, The Baby Whisperer. And I guess I just resonated with her routine. And I did that routine with my son, and he slept great. Like, by 6 weeks, he was sleeping 6-hour stretches. And then each week that got longer. And by 12 weeks, he was sleeping 12 hours. And that was consistent. Like, we had our nights where he would be up, and we had our days where he wouldn't nap. But for the most part, he slept great. There wasn't an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was after that, then I had 2 more miscarriages. That was like just the stress of that and the grief of that, and still having to wake up and go to work and scan pregnant women all day. And it was really hard. And I started doing some fertility treatment. I started on progesterone. I feel like I just went mentally crazy. Like I couldn't handle the hormones. And I remember just saying out loud a couple times to my husband, there's got to be a better way. Like, I can't do this. I'm not doing the medication anymore. Like, if we're meant to only have one kid, that's fine. But like, I'm not going to put myself through that. And then that's when I found this chiropractor who said every infertility patient he had got pregnant within 3 months of a gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free diet. And I was like, I got nothing to lose. So December 1st, I cut it all out of my diet. I got pregnant that cycle, which trying to give up dairy and gluten and sugar during the Christmas season, when your family thinks you're crazy,
Yeah.
it's difficult. But I was like, I got nothing to lose. So I did it. And I found out I was pregnant with my second son, and I had a beautiful pregnancy. And then it wasn't until he was 8 months old that I learned about quantum touch.
Okay.
But once I started learning about the energy, then I could look back and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that, like, it makes sense how I was guided to where I was. So then I became a practitioner, and we were wanting to get pregnant with our daughter. We weren't getting pregnant, and it had been over a year, and I'm like running the energy, and it wasn't happening. And then I did self-created health with Richard Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And right away I volunteered because I was like, do me. So he worked through it, and it brought up so much attachment that I had on like an identity of being a parent, and like, this is the way it's supposed to be. And there was just so much anger from my childhood that had come up. So then I went through the process and I released that. And then 2 months later, we were pregnant with our daughter, which is pretty incredible. My pregnancy with her was a breeze. Like I would run energy into my belly, like into her all the time. Like, and then that was when our life really started to change. That was when my husband decided to quit his job and do a totally different job, which was going to cause us to like relocate. So I was going to finish off my pregnancy working at the clinic. And then once I started my mat leave, we would be at our host for a little bit and then we would end up relocating for my husband's work. And so that was when life really, really began to change.
Very cool. So I'm wondering, did you or have you sent energy to yourself with the other pregnancies that you had?
No, like my miscarriages?
Any of them?
I haven't actually gone back. I did go, so it really sunk in like quantum with time and space being fluid. I think when I did supercharging with Carol Lee. And then she was like, go back and send energy when your son Nathan was like when he was born, because that was when all that family stress happened. So then she helped me and we went back and we sent energy to that. And it did help.
Because you never know, you could have been helping yourself.
Yeah.
So if you send energy to yourself during your pregnancies that turned out well, send to them, but then also the ones that you miscarried and you felt that trauma energy and upset energy from, send energy to those as well and see if that might help shift experience too. Now, in light of this, the reason I'm wanting to share this and I'm bringing to mind my mom's own experience. I have 6 siblings and brother's the oldest and I'm second. And between us, she shared with me that she had a miscarriage at about 3 months into the pregnancy. The doctor said there was nothing wrong with the fetus. There was zero reason for it to miscarry. She told me, she said at the time, she had this feeling that that body was not the correct body for her next baby. And that I knew that, and it needed to start over. The timing was not correct. So she started over. She got pregnant again and had me, and my energy field, of course, everyone's is very particular, but I feel that this is the body that I particularly wanted, and that other one was not the one that would have been brought in the energy that my soul intended on experiencing here in this lifetime. It needed to be very particular. What I'm saying is trust, be open to trusting those miscarriages, that your sons and your daughter were looking for a very particular form to bring their soul into the world in. And you were willing to try so many times because it was so important, that you love them so much that you kept moving forward, even though these miscarriages were taking place. You were waiting, your sons and your daughter were waiting for the correct lineup of energy for their physical form, so their soul could do what they intended on doing in this lifetime. And then we can bring the gratitude, genuine gratitude, heartfelt gratitude for the experience of those losses that really felt like a loss. But when you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, that one wasn't the correct one. Let's try again. Okay, that one wasn't the correct one. Let's try again. Okay, that one wasn't the correct one. Let's try again. Oh my goodness, this is the correct one. Oh, nice.
I like that. I got like full body chills and I'm starting to tear up, which is good. I've never thought about it that way or heard that perspective.
To be grateful for your persistence, that you're strong and your body is strong, that it can keep trying that until it hit the right energy field that you all were looking for.
That's really cool.
Because it was a family effort. They're there waiting for you, and they're waiting. They're like, oh, come on, mom, keep going. Okay, yes, that's the right one. Here I come.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool because I can say now, looking back over my experience of what it was to become a mom, I felt very guided. I felt like the emotions were very strong and I didn't always deal with that probably in a healthy way. But when I can look back and every time I learned something and I was like, I'm going to try that because I always had this feeling like I got nothing to lose. Like, why not try that? But they all came from a time I wasn't searching for it. It just appeared. And then it came to me and I was like, yeah, I'm going to try that. So it always felt very like it was meant to be. Like it felt very guided.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for you that you have a strong body that you could keep doing that.
Thank you.
For the sake of your little ones there. Very beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I feel kind of speechless now. I feel like I just need to take time to figure out what all this means now. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the invitation. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know what we were going to talk about, and
I didn't either.
And just start visiting. So,
yeah. All right. If people want to find you, how can they reach out to you?
On my website is the easiest way. Of course, I'm on Facebook. Is my name is my website, Shelly L. Liedtke, and it's spelled Shelly, middle initial L, and last name is spelled Liedtke, and .com. So
perfect. Awesome.
You can find me there. I'll have my classes posted for Quantum Touch. I have my next one coming up in September, and I'll be having that up in the Quantum Touch Facebook group soon, and registration available on my website. And I believe I have the registration available right now. And then if you want to request your free human design chart, then you can do that. And I'll send you your chart with your mandala, and it'll have the Chiron activation, all that kind of yummy stuff on it, and send you some extra little goodies along with a PDF copy of my ebook, The Beauty of Your Human Design Life Chart. So
perfect. Awesome. Yeah. And I'll link that all in the comments below.
Okay, thank you. Thea.
Well, thank you so much, Shelly. This has been lovely. All right. So after ending the interview with Shelly, I felt called to run some energy for these pregnancies that have miscarried. So if this had resonated with you and you have had miscarriages, or you're starting your journey as a mother, or you are pregnant, or this is going to be for all moms and in all capacities, I'm just going to run some energy for our babies in whatever form they are in right now. Really understanding that we are whole beings and in this energetic world. So allow yourself to just sit back and relax. Close your eyes. I'm going to start running the energy for probably around 5 minutes, and we'll go from there. I just feel like this time and this space, and after this conversation, we all just could use a little love. So allow yourself to settle into a comfortable position and just become aware of your breath, noticing your inhale and your exhale, and just feeling into the rhythm of your breath. And I'll begin running the energy now. So just noticing what thoughts, feelings, or memories arise, and just offering gratitude into this moment, and then let them go. Allow yourself to see your baby now. Maybe place your arms out that you can hold your baby. And I'll just run some energy into your child. Feeling the love for this dear one now. And in all things we give thanks. Knowing that at any moment you can tune into the rhythm of your breath and send some love to your precious child. That this is a skill we are all capable of doing. And we'll gently bring this practice to a close. Once again, know that at any moment when a thought, a feeling, or a memory arises, you can tune into the rhythm of your breath and send your love to this dear one. Wiggling your fingers and your toes, and bringing some movement back into your body. I think this is what I love most about learning quantum touch, is it's become a very practical, simple, and effective tool to comfort myself when these moments arise, when these thoughts, these feelings, these memories, that I don't have to react or play into the story of it. I can tune into my breath, and I can tune into the vibration of love, and I can send energy and love, and I can feel that, and I can feel that connection. And this has been a very powerful tool for me when these moments come up. And I've learned to be able to just run the energy and comfort myself in those moments when I need to. If you are looking for more information, you can check out our website. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation with Shelly and this energy to our babies. And hopefully we'll chat again soon.